Hi. So, um, uh, cool fact. The iPad iMovie app has a maximum of 40 minutes of recording time, and so we ran into that. So, back to Praetor. So we're on page 8 now, and that lists all the city tiles described in detail. So you got gold mines that give you gold. Okay, so you got resource generating tiles. So you got your gold mine, your lumber mill, your stone quarry, your marble quarry, and your blacksmith. And those all give you the 5 resources: gold, wood, stone, marble, and weapons. Okay. It looks like there's a couple other ways to get gold. There's a curia that you gain gold equal to the number of city tiles that you control, and the forum where you gain 2 gold for every active worker you control. Novice workers are not considered as active workers. Okay. Then we got some temples. Temples give you favor, so they give you points. So we got one that gives you points for each active worker, one that gives you a point for every city tile you control, 1 point for every wood and stone you possess, and you don't have to give up those resources. Excuse me again. Another temple that gives you 2 points for each marble and 2 points for each weapon. Again, you don't have to give them up. And a temple that gives you points based on level of morale on your player board. Okay. Then we got a couple tiles that give you morale. So you got a Colosseum. You gain 1 morale level for every 2 city tiles you control. Okay. And then an Oracle. You gain 2 morale levels for each retired worker you control. Okay. That's cool. So that might come in handy because if you don't pay your retired workers, your morale drops. That would be handy because then, yeah, okay. Okay, so these look like the starting buildings: the worker camp, the market, and the Imperial outpost. Finally! Took you until the last page with the city tiles. Bad rules writer. Okay. The worker camp tile. You place a worker with 1 experience from your villagers on the first novice space. How many times have you referenced novice workers? And this is the first time you say how you do it, how you actually get a novice worker. Alright, so that's one of the 3 starting buildings outside of the gold mines. Market. You can freely trade your resources with the bank using trade rates. Okay, so you can buy and sell any amount of any resource. Okay? And again, here, the Imperial Outpost. See, seriously, you could have just taken these 3 things about the start tiles and put them up in the segment where you talk about setting up. That would have been perfect. Imperial Outpost. That's where you choose an available wall tile. You're going to pay its cost, gain the points, and on each other face-down wall tile you control. Okay, so you're going to get the points for the tile that you finish, or that you, what are we doing? Yeah, you get the points for the tile that you pay for, and then you get points for every other wall tile that you've already completed before that. Place the wall tile face down next to your player board. Okay. So it doesn't say whether or not you're going to flip over another wall tile. So maybe that's like a one-time thing per turn. I'm not sure on that one. It's another sticking point there. Okay, so then we got our special tiles. So the Academy. You pay the owner of the Academy 1 stone. Okay, so yeah, so the Academy, that's the thing we talked about during the update phase, when you would normally move your novices 1 step, and there's a 2-step process. The Academy, you can That's where you pay the 1 stone, and then you can skip that second step of training for all of your novice workers. Okay, so it kind of sounds like you're gonna have multiple novices at the same time. Okay, that's not real clear either. Labor camp. Oh, this is not nice. You don't use an active worker to activate it because it's a special tile. Once per turn as an action, you're going to pay the owner of the labor camp the activation cost and use one of your retired workers as if it was an active worker with 6 experience. That's not real nice to do to the retired workers. I mean, they're probably down in Roman Florida with all their other retired Roman friends. And then we have a couple city tiles without an activation area. So we got a statue, doesn't do anything, you just get points. And same for the Arch of Triomphe, or Arc de Triomphe. I think I pronounced that right. I don't know, probably screwed them both up. Okay, so that's the rules for Praetor. So again, back to how I learn rules. That took a lot longer than it normally would, because I was having to read out loud and kind of vocalize the thought process in my head. So normally, if I'm just trying to learn on my own, I'll typically just get the rules and I kind of like just go into the zone a little bit, and I kind of block out what else is going on around me. Generally, because, like I said, if I'm learning rules to try to teach somebody else, then I'm trying to jam as much of the information as I can into my head as fast as I can. So, like I said earlier, I'm gonna loop through those round descriptions, and I'm just gonna kind of rote memorize, just get it in there, get it in there, get it in there. So this was a little bit slower than my normal process, but for the most part, I think I kind of gave you some of the same thought process that I would have been thinking in my head. I don't know if that was of any help, though. But if you have any feedback on specifics of what I just went through, that you would like to know more about, just let me know. Comment, tweet at me, whatever. Okay, so I think what I'm going to do then to finish this off and put a bow on it is I'm going to try to teach Praetor. I'm going to pretend like I'm teaching the game to my game group. Okay, so alright, so Praetor, what we're doing is we are trying to build the city. We're trying to make a magnificent city. And we have workers at our disposal to help us do that. And we are going to be gathering resources in order to pay the costs to build that city and also to pay those workers, because workers got to get paid. As we use our workers, they're going to get more experience, and then eventually they're going to hit the point where they've just maxed out their experience and they're going to retire. Once they retire, we're not going to be able to use them to build more buildings or use those buildings. So we kind of have to balance that out between when we want to use an active worker and when we may not want to, because it's going to push him up to his max of experience. So, so everybody's got their player board. Make sure it's on the A side, the normal side. So if you look at your player board, across the top you have your morale track. In the lower left here, you've got a section for your dice. You're going to put your dice there. All your dice are going to be side 1 facing up. These are your villagers. So these are the guys that are potential workers. Next to the villager section, you've got 2 spots for novices. So there's 2 steps to take a worker, or take a villager, sorry, and turn him into an active worker. So they have to go through 2 steps of training as novices. Then you've got 8 active worker spots, and you've got 8 retired workers. So the active workers are the green line above, and the retired workers are the orange line below. So as you get novices through that training, you'll put them in the active worker section, and then as your active workers get maxed out on experience, then you'll move them down into your retired worker section. And I'll talk more about that later. The last thing on your player board is the resource exchange rate. So should take a step back here, and I'll show you that we've got, the city starts off with 3 city tiles, and there's going to be a gold mine tile for each player. So in this hypothetical situation, I'm teaching the 3 of you how to play this game. Teaching John, Tiffany, and Ben. So you all don't know each other, but it's okay because you all like games and you're all friends with me, so we're cool. Yeah, so 4 players. So we got the 3 starting city tiles. We've got a gold mine, 1 for each player. So each of you has a gold mine. So go ahead and take one of your little discs and put that on the gold mine that's closest to you. Okay, so everybody's got that. We've also got this board here for score. So our score track and our turn order track. And okay, so then everybody's got their 8 dice and their 15 markers. Should be little 15 discs. So you're gonna put one of your discs on your gold mine, and then you're gonna put one of your discs on the score track. And the way we do that is, so first, the person who last went to Rome if any of you, none of you? Okay. All right. I'll go ahead and be first player, and then that way you can kind of see how the turns go. All right. So as first player, so I'm going to put my marker on 10. John, you'll put yours on 9. Tiffany, you'll be on 8, and Ben, you'll be on 7. And yeah, this is score, but don't worry. Turn order then is determined by the inverse of that. So we're going to flip it. So Ben, you're going to be, oh crap, I did that wrong then. What? Okay, so jumping out of the teaching for a second, I do this a lot too, where I think I've got it all laid out, and then I say it, and it's like, well, crap, I did that wrong. So I just roll with it and adjust. Okay, so forget what I said about me being first player. So I got 10, John's at 9, Tiffany's at 8, Ben's at 7. So then turn order is going to be the reverse of that. So Ben's going to start, Tiffany will be second, John will be third, and I'll be last. All right. Okay. So like I said, we got our starting tiles here. We've got a stack of these city tiles. These tiles, there's 2 ages, age 1 and age 2. So the top of the stack is the age 1 tiles, and the second part of the stack is the age 2 tiles. And then I'm going to flip over 5 of these city tiles, and that's going to be the available city tiles that we can build with our active workers. So these are the 5. And and I'll explain what those tiles do when we start playing. Then we also have these wall tiles. So the wall tiles, they are, you're trying to help Caesar build segments of Hadrian's Wall. I don't know what that is, but Caesar wants it, so it's probably good. So there's going to be a segment of the wall that you need to build, and the resources are here. So you'll pay these resources, you'll get these victory points, and you'll take that tile and put it face down in front of you. And if you see on the back, it's got more points. So the way that works is when you build a wall tile, you'll score the points that's on the face-up side. Then you'll flip it over and put it next to you. Any other wall tiles that you've already built, you'll get the points that are on the back. So it's, I think it's 3 points. So if I had one of these tiles here that I'd already built in a previous turn, and I built this one, then I would get the face value, say it's 5. I'd get 5 points, and then I would also get 3 points for the previously built segment of the wall. So that's the wall tiles. Alright, so everybody take another one of your markers and put it on your morale track at the 0 point. And I'm going to divvy out the resources. So everybody needs some gold, some wood, some stone, some marble, and a weapon. Okay, so then out of your dice, take 3 of them. You're going to put one with side 1, one with side 2, and one with side 3 in your active workers area. And just make sure the rest in your villagers area are all side 1. Okay. So that's set up. So how do we play the game? The way it works is there's 3 phases. So you got your turn order phase, your action phase, and your update phase. Turn order phase. So what we do with turn order, and we've already set the turn order for the start, but that'll be for subsequent turns. What we do with the turn order is we go in reverse score order. So whoever's in last place becomes first player. Whoever's in second place becomes, whoever's in next to last in score becomes second player in turn order, and so forth. Okay. Then, okay, so that's turn order phase. So we go to action phase. So in action phase, 1 by 1, in turn order, you're going to take 1 action or you're going to pass. Your available actions are you can take one of these city tiles that are out here and you can build it. You can activate a city tile that's already been built, or you can activate one of these special city tiles. And I'll explain what the special city tiles are. They're a little different. So if you're going to build a building, what you do is you're going to look here in the upper left corner of the tile, and that's going to tell you the resources that you need to build that building. And it's also going to give you the point value for when you build it, you'll score that many points. So what you do to build a city tile is you'll take one of your active workers. So we all start with the 3 active workers. So you take one of those active workers, you're going to put it in the center of the city tile, you'll pay the resource cost to the bank, and then you'll put that city tile next to an already built portion of the city. You can twist and turn the city tile however you want, and the reason why you'd want to be able to twist it is if you look in the corners here, the corners have these different patterns and colors. When you build the city tile, you're going to look at all the adjacent tiles, and then if for every corner of adjacent tiles that has the same color pattern thing on it as the one you just built, you're going to get points for that. So in this case, say for this one here, it's worth 3 points to build it. So you would build this one here for 3. And then if you put it this way, you see it's going to line up, these 2 corners match. So you would get an additional point for having corners match. So That's an extra way to get some victory points. Okay, so once you build that, so you got your active worker on there, you've put it into the city, you've adjusted it, you're going to take one of your little marker discs, and you're going to put that on the city as well, and that indicates that you own that city. That's your city. And your worker is going to stay there. So that's how you build a city. Build a city tile. One of the other choices is you can activate a city tile. To activate a city tile, you're going to take one of your active workers, and you're going to put it on the city tile that you want to activate. You can only each city tile can only be activated once per turn. And if you put one of your active workers on a tile that somebody else owns, you're going to have to pay pay the owner the activation cost. So if you see down here in this little circle here, there's a little activation cost. There's a little cost next to it on the left. That's how much you have to pay the owner to make use of that building. Now, if you are activating a building that you own, you don't have to pay that cost. It's free to you. When you put your active worker on there and you pay the owner, then you gain the benefit of that tile. And I'll go through what the tile benefits are a little bit later. Okay, so that's building a city tile, activating a city tile that's already out there. You can also use an action to activate a special city tile. And there's two special city tiles. They have this little gray background. You see the activation circle, there'll be gray as the background. The special city tiles can be activated only once per turn by each player. So everybody has a chance to activate this special building once in a turn. Again, there's an activation cost here. So whoever owns that building, if you want to use it and activate it, you're going to have to pay the owner the activation cost. Now the thing with special buildings is you don't have to use an active worker to activate them. You just have to pay the cost to the owner. And then what you'll do is you take one of your other marker discs and you put that on there just to remind yourself that you've actually used that tile, so you can't use it again. So that's the action phase. You can either build a building, you can activate a building that's already out there, or you can activate a special building that's already out there, and then you don't have to use workers for that. Then we move into the update phase. Oh, sorry, hang on. So we're going to keep doing that. We're going to keep putting out workers. And if you ever run out of all your active workers, all your active dice, then you have to pass. And once you pass, you can't put any more workers out. So you could, in theory, pass even though you had active workers left. It's not necessarily a good idea to do that because you're losing. They can still do some good stuff out there for you. So in general, you'll probably want to use all your active workers and then pass, but you have the ability to pass before then. Once everybody passes, then that'll be the end of the action phase, and then we move to the update phase. So in the update phase, what you're going to do is, if you have any novice workers, you're going to you'll move them one step to the right. If the novice worker was on that first step of the track, then they just move to the second one. If the novice worker was on the second one, then they move to become active. Okay. So you're going to move your novice workers. Then you're going to take all of your active workers that you've put out in the city, and you're going to take them back to your player board. When you take them back, if they were used to build a city tile, then you gain 1 experience point. So to start off, like say I use this level 1 active worker, when I put him out here, and then when I brought him back during the update phase, I would turn that 1 to the 2 because he gained experience for having built that city. workers that you put out to activate buildings that have that red activation circle, when they come back, they'll also get experience. So again, if I use this one die, this one active worker, level 1, and I used him to activate this city that has a red, or city tile that has a red activation circle, then I would take him back and I would turn him to 2, again, just like I had taken for that active worker that built the tile. Any other workers that you bring back, they're not going to gain experience. So only the ones that are used to build cities and the ones that are activating red activation areas. So all the other ones that come back, they don't gain experience. At this point, you're going to check your active workers. If any of them have gotten up to 6 on the experience, then they've retired. So you move them down from the green bar down to the orange bar. When you do that, you're going to gain points. So if we're still in age 1, and you can look at the backs of the city tile deck here. So if it still has a 1 on the back, then we're still in age 1, and your retired workers will get you 12 points. If you retire a worker and the back of the top card here is 2, then they only get you 8 points. So if you really work them really hard in the first age, then they're worth more points to you when they retire. Okay, so trained our novice workers, brought our active workers back, gave them experience if they did some cool stuff, retired our workers that got too old. Then we have to pay maintenance fees. So you're going to pay for each active worker. You're going to pay the cost here under the little square where they are. There's a little cost. You're going to pay that to the bank. And then you're also going to pay for retired workers. So you're paying their pension. And there's a little symbol there for pension cost. If you're not able to pay all of your workers, for every gold that you can't afford, you're going to decrease your morale level. And that's bad, obviously, morale. You're going to decrease it by 1 for each gold that you can't pay. If you don't have any morale left and you still have gold that you haven't accounted for, then you can you have to give up 5 points for each gold that you're missing, down to 0, so you can never go negative. So to pay your workers, you pay them in gold. If you run out of gold, you lose morale. If you run out of morale, then you lose points. So if after you've done all that, you have no active workers left in your pool, you can give up 5 points and then take a villager and turn it into an active worker with 1 experience. Just a note, don't run out of points if you end up in that situation, because you still have to have points to give up in order to get that stopgap worker there. Okay, so that's update phase. Then what we'll also do is then we'll replenish the available city tiles. So all the ones that got bought, we'll fill those back in. And then we'll take the available wall tile that was out there, we'll remove it from the game, and then reveal the next wall tile. Then we're going to check to see if we're at endgame. So if we ever run out of city tiles to replenish with, or we run out of wall tiles to replenish with, then the next turn is the last turn of the game. Then once that happens and we finish that last round, then we'll do final scoring. So what you're gonna get points for the experience level of each of your active workers. So say I ended up with 1, 2, and 3 here, which I wouldn't because it's the start. But say I ended up with that, I would get 6 points, 3, 2, and 1 for my active workers. If I had novice workers that were still working through the two-step novice process, I would get 1 point for each novice worker. You're not going to get any extra points for your retired workers because you got the points when you retired them. Then you're going to look at your morale, and you're either going to gain or lose points based on where you ended up on the morale track. And then you look at your remaining resources. And if you look at the market section of your player board here, what you're going to do is you'll take all your remaining resources and then you'll cash them in for gold based on the exchange rates here. And then for every 10 gold you end up with, you'll get 1 point. Winner of the game is whoever has the most points. In case of a tie, then we look to see who has the most morale. If we still tie, then we look to see who has completed the most wall tiles. If we're still tied, then we look to see who has control of most city tiles. If there's still a tie after that, then Ben, you win because you're youngest. So congrats. Okay, so that's kind of the overview of the game. So we are trying to train workers, get them more experienced, to be able to build buildings, to activate those buildings, to get us more resources and get us points. And that's kind of it. Okay, so we'll talk a little bit about some of these tiles here. So you've got your resource generating tiles. So like the gold mines give you gold, lumber mills give you wood, stone quarry, marble quarry, and blacksmith, they give you, well, gold mine, lumber mill, stone quarry, and marble quarry. When you activate them, you just get resources equal to the experience level of the worker you use to activate it. So if I take this level 3 guy here and I use him on my gold mine, I will get 3 gold for doing that. But if I use my level 1 guy, I would only get 1 gold. The blacksmith is how you get the weapons resource. But you have to, you're basically converting wood into weapons. So you have to have wood first to be able to convert it into weapons. Same thing, you're going to use the experience level of the active worker that you put there to determine how many weapons you get back, or how many pieces of wood you're going to convert into weapons. There are a couple of these tiles here that are extra ways to get you gold. Again, because you're going to need gold to pay your workers and to pay your active workers' salaries and to pay your retired workers' pensions. So this one here, you'll get gold equal to the number of city tiles that you control. And this one here, you're going to get 2 gold for every active worker you control. And just a reminder, active workers are only the ones that are in the green section. The novice workers are not active. These temples here, the temples are basically just to get more points. So this temple here, you're going to get 2 points for every active worker you control. This one, you'll get a point for every city tile you control. This one, you're going to count up your wood and your stone, and then you're going to get 1 point for each of those resources. You don't have to pay them, you just count how many you have. This temple, you're going to count up your marble and your weapons, and you'll get 2 points for each of those resources. And again, you're not going to have to pay them, you just have to count up how many you have. This temple, you're going to get points based on where you are on where your morale is at. Speaking of morale, these 2 city tiles here, the Colosseum and the Oracle, that's how you gain morale. So if you go to this one, the Colosseum, you will gain 1 morale for every 2 city tiles you control. You're going to round that down. So if I had 3 city tiles out here and I went activated the Colosseum, I would get 1 morale level. So 3 divided by 2, you know, math. If I go to the Oracle here, I'm going to get 2 morale levels for each retired worker I have. Okay. Then we've got these 3 starting city tiles, and I should have explained this earlier. Sorry about that. So you got the worker camp, the market, and the imperial outpost. Now, if you note, these guys, all the other ones I just explained, they have the red activation thing, so you're going to gain experience for using those. These starting ones, you're not going to get experience for putting workers there. Worker camp. If you activate the worker camp, then you're going to take one of your villagers and put them on the first novice space. So this is how you get turn villagers into novices to start training them to become active workers. The market, if you activate this, then you can trade resources with the bank. Again, the trade rates are here on your player board, and you can buy and sell any number of resources that you can afford. And then the Imperial Outpost. This is how you're going to claim these wall tiles. So you would go here to claim the available wall tile. So you have to pay the resources. You get the points that are on the wall tile, and you're going to get points for any previously built wall tile segments. Then we've got these city tiles here. These tiles you can't activate those. The statue and the Arc de Triomphe, they just give you points. So they're just for getting points, but they're expensive resource-wise. So then we have these two special tiles, the Academy and the Labor Camp. The Academy is really just used during the update phase. So whoever builds the Academy, other players can pay them 1 stone, and then when you go to move your novice workers, any of your level 1 novice workers can skip that second level and just go straight to active workers. The Labor Camp, you can activate the Labor Camp, and then you pay the owner of the Labor Camp some gold, and then you can take one of your retired workers and actually use them out on to activate a building, or to build a building, and you would use them as that full 6 experience. So for the ones that give you like resources per experience level, like if you put the 6 on the wood lumber mill, you would get 6 wood for that. So that's real quick, rough overview of how all the different tiles work. But like I said, when they come up, we'll talk about them. Any questions? All right, so we'll go ahead and get started. Okay, so that's me teaching Praetor after spending time learning how to play it. I hope I got about 2 minutes left here. I hope that there's some benefit to me doing this, and it wasn't just me talking for an hour and a half to my iPad in my empty apartment. Again, if there's anything that I could have done better or highlighted more, please let me know. Comment, tweet at the Copac. This was fun. I enjoyed this. I might do this again sometime. If you've got a game that you would like to see me struggle through reading the rules and learning and then trying to teach on the spot, let me know in the comments. If it's one I haven't played before, then I'll consider doing it. If it's one I've already played, I'd kind of like to avoid those right now, because like I said, with this I want to try to just help show people how I learn games and how I teach them. So I got about a minute left. I'm going to figure out this whole timing thing before I do this again. Alright, so that's that. Hope you enjoyed this. It was fun. And I will see you later. Bye. I gotta push this button. Bye.